Liberty has never come from the government. Liberty has always come from the subjects of it. The history of liberty is a history of resistance. I don't think that when Woodrow Wilson addressed the New York Press Club in 1912 and stated that quote, he was going to understand how real it truly is, especially now. Liberty has been losing its meaning in America. In the last year and a half, as a first responder in New York City, as a paramedic in New York City, as a citizen of New York City, I've witnessed more restrictions and more tyrannic laws than I've ever thought even possible in this country. The sad part is it was all in the name of safety. It was all in the name of keeping all of us safe. It all started March 22nd, 2020, with New York on pause. 14 days to flatten the curve. 14 days, don't leave your house. 14 days, stay. All businesses are shut down. All healthcare facilities are shut down. Beauty salons, restaurants, dining, malls, everything. Shut down, everybody just stay home. Don't leave unless you have to. Don't leave unless you are an essential employee. I hate that term. A year and a half later, here we are. A year and a half later, I'm still not allowed to go anywhere. Me, personally, not allowed. Nowhere in New York, nowhere in New York City. But never in a million years did I think that I could travel all 5 boroughs of New York City in 45 minutes. If somebody would have told me that during the apocalypse I can still get Starbucks and I could still get coffee, I probably would not have stocked up on so much instant coffee thinking, everything's supposed to be shut down. But I could still get coffee, I could still get food. And in the beginning, I was terrified. As a paramedic who was told, here's a new virus, we don't know what's going on, but go out there, I was absolutely terrified, horrified, did not know what to expect. The 911 system was on the verge of collapsing. We averaged in New York City about 4,000 to 4,500 calls a day. During COVID, we were doing about 7,000 calls a day, with about half the workforce, because we were out sick with COVID also. We were not immune to it. Other agencies were scaling back on potential COVID calls. Firefighters weren't going, cops weren't going, transit wasn't going. Nobody else was going except EMS. They were like, you're fine, just keep going. When testing became widely available, we were told, even if you test positive but don't have a fever and don't have a cough, you still have to come to work. Because again, we were already out half a workforce, so make sure that you still show up to work. I don't care if you're dying, as long as you have a fever, show up. We had no PPE. We had no masks. We were told to keep reusing masks, but make sure you wash your hands. You could sit in a truck with your partner, and if you don't want to wear a mask with your partner, you're okay, but when you go into the station, you have to wear a mask. The policies were so contradicting, nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew how to act. Wait, am I allowed to wear a mask today? Am I allowed to touch your hand today? Am I allowed to shake your hand? I drove with you to work. Does that mean that I'm not allowed to sit with you anymore? I don't get it. This was the confusion that we had. Working 16-hour days, 5 days a week with no direction, constant policy changes, constant contradicting policies, which is probably the most frustrating part about it. Now we have a vaccine. Everything started to slow down. Things started to open up. New York started to open its phases. And now the vaccine became available. I was recently informed that if I do not take the vaccine, I will lose my job. Me, along with thousands of other healthcare workers in the field. This is a job I've been working for 15 years. 15 years of working and serving the citizens of New York City, responding to them in their time of need, providing the best possible emergency care that I can. And I'm told I could potentially lose my job if I don't comply with the rules and regulations that my city and my employer are putting in place. To me, that's not okay. In the last 15 years of EMS, I've been witness to shootings. I've been held at gunpoint. I have been shot at. I have driven my ambulance with bullet holes in the side of it. I have responded to situations that I should not have been in, but we didn't know any better, and when we get called, we go in. during COVID and during the pandemic, we had riots that we were responding to in New York City. Why? Because the protests and the riots they stood for a danger that was a greater public health safety, greater detriment to public safety and public health than COVID. So it was okay that they could riot and protest because it was in the name of something bigger than COVID. So we had to deal with that. They defunded the police. They took police off of our potentially violent calls, and they left us stranded. So between a pandemic, nope, you guys are fine. Between riots and getting assaulted and having ambulances set on fire and having bricks thrown through ambulance windows, nope, you guys are fine. But now, no, you need this vaccine, otherwise you're going to get fired. What did I do for the last year and a half? What did I sacrifice? I couldn't see my family. My dad had cancer and was diagnosed with cancer during COVID, did not tell me, and I couldn't go see him. I got separated from every single person that I loved, from my mother, from my father, from my brothers, from my grandfather, who, by the way, he's okay, we just went to France. But all of this time, you locked them in their homes, you locked me in my home, and now you're gonna tell me that after everything that I've suffered and that I've gone through, if I make a choice for myself and my body, you're gonna fire me? I took an oath to first do no harm, to serve and administer the best emergency medical care and treatment to the best of my abilities. And I have been doing a really good job of that for the last 15 years. EMS has always been in danger. We've always been the ones who are left on the forefront with no ways to support ourselves, no ways to defend ourselves. We don't get self-defense training. We're told we're not allowed to self-defend. We're not allowed to do any of that because we can get fired. They love that term. Bring charges. We are always in danger, but we were called a hero yesterday, and now we're threatened to be fired today. Fire me. If working for an employer who will not respect my liberties and my rights as an American citizen, fire me. My rights mean more to me than a job that I love more than anything in the entire world. My liberties mean more to me than a job that I love. Somebody will hire me, I'm almost positive of it. I'm really hoping, so if everybody knows somewhere in a free state that's hiring for paramedics, let me know. And I truly hope that it does not come to that, that enough people stand up, and they're there in New York City. I'm not the only one. But they'll take that stand and stand up for what they believe in. I've been on the forefront of fighting liberties for a long time. I've been fighting for my Second Amendment rights. I'm a firearms instructor in New York City. I'm an advocate for the Second Amendment. I'm the New York State representative for the DC Project. I am used to this, which is really, really, really sad. That as an American citizen, I am used to having to fight for my rights and my liberties. But if other people don't stand up, and if other people don't stand up for what they believe in, I don't know where else we can go, and what else can happen. Because again, the history of liberty is a history of resistance. But until then, I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep my promise and my oath to continue serving the citizens of New York City, to continue serving the citizens of New York, to continue fighting for not just my rights on what to do and put into, my body, but for the rights of others, for the right to continuously protect myself. It's a sad day when we have to have a conference and when we have to have these emotional talks about the potential of losing what we believe in, losing the foundation of this country, losing what we have fought so hard to keep. And it's not about, does the vaccine work, does it not work? It's about, you're going to lose your job if you don't get it. First, here, you guys are going to be the first ones to get it. EMS, no problem. You guys are going to be the first ones to get it. We'll throw you that bone. Great. Not enough people are getting it. We're going to start paying people $100 to get it. Now we're going to start we're not going to let you go into the movies. We're not going to let you go out to eat with your families. We're not going to let you go shopping. We're not going to let you go to concerts or sporting events until you get it. Now you're going to lose your job unless you get it. that transition is not something, unfortunately, that's new to us. We all know what this is like because we're all been standing up here or talking or traveling the country, voicing our concerns about this, voicing our struggles with this and our fight for this. It has hit me in so many different ways, between this, my Second Amendment rights, between the right to do what I want with my body or with my medical choices. Those are all gone. I'm living in a city that has taken all of that from me. Literally every ounce of it. So if you take nothing else from my speech today other than continue to fight, continue to be the voice that we need, because we need more of these voices. We need these voices to be louder. We need these voices to be angrier, because what is happening is not okay. We need to reach out to the younger generations. We need to reach out to those, teach our kids, teach our grandchildren the fundamentals and how we got here and what's going to happen if we don't have them anymore and if we lose them. So just remember that when you guys go home, talk to your families. This is something that is not, again, it's definitely not okay.